The book of Genesis is the very first book of the Bible, and it sets the stage for everything that follows. Its name, Genesis, means beginning, and it tells the story of the world, humanity, and God's plan from the very start. Genesis begins with creation. In 6 days, God created the heavens, the earth, the seas, plants, animals, and finally humanity. Adam and Eve, the first humans, were placed in the Garden of Eden, living in harmony with God. But when they disobeyed, sin entered the world, bringing separation from God and a life of struggle. This story reminds us of human choice, consequence, and God's desire for relationship. The narrative continues with the story of Noah. Humanity had become wicked, and God decided to cleanse the earth with a flood. Yet he spared Noah, a righteous man, and his family. They survived in the ark, and afterward, God made a covenant, promising never again to destroy the earth with a flood. The rainbow became a sign of God's faithfulness. This story shows both God's justice and his mercy. Genesis also tells the story of the Tower of Babel, where people tried to make a name for themselves instead of honoring God. God confused their language, scattering them across the earth. This explains the diversity of nations and languages and highlights God's sovereignty over human pride. From there, Genesis introduces the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, whose lives show God's plan unfolding. Abraham received a promise from God that he would become the father of a great nation and that all nations would be blessed through him. His faith, even in uncertain circumstances, became the foundation for God's covenant people. Isaac, Abraham's son, continued the covenant line, and his son Jacob, later named Israel, had 12 sons. These sons became the leaders of the 12 tribes of Israel, forming the nation that would carry God's promises forward. Among them was Joseph, whose story of betrayal, slavery, and eventual rise to power in Egypt shows God's providence. Joseph's wisdom saved many people during famine and demonstrates that God can bring good out of even the most difficult circumstances. Genesis is more than a collection of stories. It is a record of beginnings, the beginning of the world, of sin and redemption, of nations, and of God's covenant people. Throughout it, we see God's faithfulness, his justice, and his mercy. We see human failure and divine plan working together to shape history. If you're enjoying this overview, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more clear and inspiring Bible explanations. Genesis ends with the Israelites settled in Egypt, setting the stage for the next phase of the story, the Exodus. The book reminds us that even at the beginning, God had a plan, and his promises are trustworthy. From creation to the patriarchs, Genesis teaches us about God's power, human responsibility, and the hope that unfolds through his covenant. It is the foundation for understanding the rest of Scripture and God's plan for humanity. If this summary helped you understand Genesis better, don't you forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss more biblical history brought to life.